I think that I didn't like myself. I think
Mm,
that that was a big like stem of the depression, right? And I think it's personally like that personality style and the way that I operate in the world, I I thought it was wrong. And so when I got to meet other people and like get clarity on like there's different personality styles and one is not more right or wrong than the other, and to be able to honor and appreciate the way what I bring to the world, like I've stopped hating myself, and that's key. Um,
Oh yeah, I'm stable. Oh yeah, no label. Oh yeah, you know me. I have only a past. I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. Yeah.
Thank you, Mel, for jumping on here today and having the courage to really share your story and some of your experience. It's been my honor, and truly I am so grateful to have gotten to know you, your husband, and your journey and what you've been on. And so for the listener who does not know you like I do, just give them a 1 to 2 minute backstory. Who is Mel and how did you end up on this call here today?
sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. Um, let's see. When I was a child, all I wanted to be was a teacher, and my path was just like very focused. I loved school, I loved teachers, and became a teacher like at, I don't know, 18. Like started volunteering in schools and went to the Peace Corps, volunteered in Africa teaching. Found my husband, came back and kept teaching for another 18 years. And I was so burnt out. I was so overwhelmed. I'm very empathetic. I feel everything. And so being in the classroom every day was really exhausting and overwhelming. But I was very good at it. So I kept doing it and kept
Mm.
doing it. I had no other life path and nothing else. I knew what I wanted to do. So I finally like took the huge leap and jumped out of that in 2019 and have been trying to find myself in a new path kind of ever since. I started my own business doing organizing, like I was a professional organizer a la Marie Kondo.
Mm.
And then COVID came and wiped that out, which in a way was a blessing because it gave me a chance to start over. Started a real estate business, and that was actually going really well. Um, but it was not taking me in the direction I wanted to go. And once again, I felt myself like stuck in this situation, and I didn't want to do it for another 20 years where I'm like, this is not actually fulfilling me.
Mm.
It's not actually the direction I want to go. So anyway, happily married 20 years, two great kids, live in Southern California right near my mom and my brother.
Very cool. I love that you live close to family. I live 5 minutes from my sister. It's one of the main reasons why I live where I do.
Mm-hmm.
Be close to family. You touched on some things there that I think are really powerful. A lot of times my audience, we're veterans, right? First responders. We're the people who get a lot of credit for being on the front lines and being out there. But one of the things that I find that I have a lot of admiration for, as far as occupations that are truly out there on the front lines, it's teachers. They get no support, they get no credit, and they literally are tasked with one of the hardest jobs in the world, which is to teach our youth, to inspire them and educate them. And so I just tip my hat to you for sticking it out as long as you did. I know a lot of really amazing teachers, much like yourself, who the system is just not designed to help support you. And those
Yeah,
students and you are the ones who suffer for it.
yeah,
But what I think is really cool is that you've kind of had this unique journey where you've tried a couple different things and life's thrown you curveballs, but you've never given up and you've always driven forward. And it seems to me like your through line really is teaching, is being able to help others and inspire others. And it's kind of interesting that what you and your husband do now, as far as an occupation, is very much along the lines of inspiring and teaching others.
yeah.
So we'll dive into that in 1 minute. But I'd love to hear from you in the vein of personal growth and development, right? You and I are both alumni of the trilogy. We both rock the rings and are part of that family. Yep. And so we've had the ability to see not only ourselves go through, but many, many others, and see how this really is something that can change anyone's life who takes it seriously and is open-minded. But I want to hear from your own personal perspective. What was the thing in your mind that drove you to finally go and get your butt in that seat?
Well, honestly, my husband Tovy went to Insight in November of 2021. So about exactly a year ago, 11 months, whatever, 13 months ago. He went to Insight, and I thought he was going for this business thing that he had started, an online business. And so I was like, okay, good luck. Bye-bye. And even on the phone calls, I could hear this like new energy. Like I'd never heard this before, and this real interest in all the people he was meeting. And he was telling me their stories and where they were from. And I was like, this is a different person than I'm used to interacting with. But then it was really when we picked him up from the airport, and the way that he looked at me was different. Like for the first time since we got married, because when you're dating, they always look at you like that, right? But once you're married and you kind of settle into your routines, and then I picked him up at the airport and he saw me and he wanted to hear like how the week had been for me. And then when I told him, he like wanted to hear more. And it was like all of a sudden I felt so like alive again. It was the connection that I'd been missing for so long in our marriage. And, yeah. So then he was like, I really want you to go. It's amazing. It's powerful. I really want you to go. And I was like, yeah, of course, obviously. I want to get some of what you just got. But as I mentioned, I was a little shy of a year as a realtor. I had just started this business. I'd just gotten clients. I'd just taken some listings, and like things were popping. And a weekend is not a good time for a realtor to leave town, especially one with a young child, who I felt like I'd already been imposing on my in-laws, my relatives, everybody to like watch her when I was being a realtor. And now I had to leave for 3 days, and I'm like not even sure why I'm doing this, and like it's not a good time. Do I really have to go? Can you just go without me? Like I started getting super panicky and hectic leading up to it. But I went.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my butt in the seat. Toby's like, just wait till tomorrow. You're gonna be okay. Just wait.
Yeah. And based on results, it worked out that way. Right?
Yeah, so, yeah. It worked out. It was good.
Perfect.
But I think that's an important part of the story for me, because it is hard for a lot of people to step away for a weekend.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage everybody to do it. It's so worth it. Like a weekend is nothing in the grand scheme of things.
I hear you. And that's actually one of the biggest issues that I've ran into. When my wife wanted to take the class, it was like, okay, well, I facilitate the class, and if you're taking the class, who's watching the kids?
Yep.
And so, for me, Todd, who is the head facilitator of all of what we do, is also a really good friend. And I was like, hey, I would really love for my wife to take this, but that means I have to watch the kids. And he was like, no brainer, go for it. Right.
Yeah.
Like, always there to support you. And so I got to watch the kids while my wife got to experience the class. And much like you and Tovy, we've had the ups and downs in our relationship, but we've been together a long time. And so we pushed through everything, and we know how to communicate well, but the level of communication that we found afterwards was just like a whole new level. And so let's hear a little bit about, you got your butt in the seat, you finally went. Now you and Tovy are both graduates. What's different now that you both have taken the class?
Well, I mean, so many things, obviously. But I have such a clear example from this morning. Right. I almost canceled this interview today. I was like, I can't do it. Like my energy's low. I'm not feeling good. And like I drove my kid to school, and I came home, and I was like, Tovy, I need to talk. And that would have gone very poorly before we both went to Insight. This time when I said I need to talk, he put his phone down. He scooched over. He made a seat. So we were like right there face to face. So that in and of itself, like someone recognizing that there's going to be value in this conversation for both of us. And I was like, I have all this negative energy built up, and I just feel like I need to discharge it. And he's like, okay. And so then like, I'm like, I don't know. So I just started talking about all the things that are stressing me out and getting me down and frustrated. And he's like, I hear you. Anything else? It's such simple stuff. And it's not just a line. It's like he truly is like allowing me to express myself. And that gives me the space to like line things up and sort things out outside of my own head. And he can ask me questions that I wouldn't necessarily ask myself. And then we like, first of all, then the energy's discharged. Like it's such a satisfying, and we do this like not always in that same direction, but like I find that more and more often we're able to just communicate, and then like you get back to this neutral, positive, like, okay, how are we going to move forward? Yeah. You know, I know that you know, but not everybody listening knows that I've struggled with depression for like since I was 13. It's just been something that I've been trying to sort out, and like seen a lot of doctors and done a lot of medications, and like having a tool of like communicating my emotions is the most powerful thing. And that didn't really start until Insight. And it only got better as I went through the other classes and learned more and more things about myself and about other people.
I love that. There are a lot of really amazing tools that we pick up when we start to really take ourselves on and learn this stuff. But that is one that I use in my life too. In my circles, we call it hold the bucket. Holding the bucket.
Yeah.
Hold the bucket for me. I don't need you to solve my problems. I just need you to listen.
Yeah.
And most of the time, while I'm just divulging this entire brain dump on you, I'm solving it myself, but I just needed someone else to like just hear it, right? Let me have this conversation out loud with another person instead of myself so that I could get some more perspective, even if they don't speak. It's weird how that happens. Super cool.
Before you switch to another topic, I think that's the power of going with somebody. And I've seen a lot of people, you know, who are not couples, but I've seen like fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, mothers and sons, sisters, best friends. Like when you go with somebody, then you have that person who has the same mindset. But then the other thing that I've gotten out of it is I have this whole community of over 100 people that I have their phone numbers, and I call them up and I'm like, can we talk? So that's the other thing. It doesn't always have to be Tovy anymore, because I found people who have the skills to listen and to be there for me.
Community, family. I love it. That's amazing. So, you know, we have like you mentioned earlier, you and I, we kind of understand these things on a little bit of a deeper level. But anybody who's watching, they may be like, what is the benefit of personal growth and development? Like, what is the benefit of actually taking a hard look in the mirror and seeing what's going on for me that maybe isn't working well? And, you know, what am I doing that I say I want, but I'm not actually moving towards? Like, what are some of the things that, you know, I'm personally doing that I have no knowledge of, right? And so what were some of those things for you that you weren't aware of at first, but as you started to move yourself through, you're like, oh, wait, that doesn't serve me. Oh, wait, I need to change that. Oh, wait, that could be moved and it could serve me better here. Like, what were some of those things for you?
Again, there's so many. And I think the way that I think that I didn't like myself. I think that was a big like stem of the depression, right? And I think it's personally like that personality style and the way that I operate in the world, I thought it was wrong. And so when I got to meet other people and like get clarity on like there's different personality styles and one is not more right or wrong than the other, and to be able to honor and appreciate the way what I bring to the world, like I've stopped hating myself, and that's key. And I think honestly, I think there's a lot of people out there, they may not suffer from depression, but I think there's a lot of people out there who settled for a mediocre life. Like I'm just going to do what I'm doing because I don't know how to get out of it. I think that's a lot of it, is like by the time you're an adult, you're like, I don't know how to move past this. I'm so stuck, right? And so realizing what is it that I do that gets me stuck, and like this same pattern. So for me, it was that. It was like, I don't like the way I show up. So then I get down on myself. So then I sink into my hole. Versus like, this is how I show up. do I want to do things differently? Like having some strategies for attacking that and moving forward, versus just settling. Like I had settled for so much of my life, and I didn't know. I tried and tried and tried. Like, you know, when you're spinning the car and it's stuck in a rut,
Mm-hmm.
like no matter how much you keep trying, you're not going to get out.
Yeah.
You need someone to come along with a plank and stick it under the wheel. So you're like, oh, thanks, bye.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes a lot of sense. Continuing to spin your wheels and not doing a new action is just going to keep you right where you were, 100%.
Exactly.
And I love that. You know, you touched on something that I think is really powerful, and it struck a chord for me because it's very personal to me. I believe now, from hindsight, that you cannot love anything until you love yourself, right? It starts with self-love first to know how to love other things. Otherwise, it's really just kind of a representation of what you think love should be, right? What you see others doing. My connection with my children, especially, and my wife, and those around me, even my friends, became a lot deeper when I decided that I could love myself again. When I stopped hating me and who I was, and the things I had done in this world that I was holding a lot of guilt and shame around, right? And then the minute I let go of what was heavy and allowed myself to love me again, it just, my life 180'd, right? The amount of gratitude and joy and just fun I get to have today because I was able to let go of that guilt and love me. That was a gift in and of itself. Like, forget the businesses and the amazing things. I'd be like, that itself was a gift.
Yeah.
And so
you can't get the businesses and everything else unless you master that self-love.
So
and loving how you show up and loving what you're,
yeah,
you are, even when I'm sad, even when I'm mad, right? That's the new me.
100% authentic. I love it. So in that vein, when you attend a personal growth and development seminar and you become more aware of who you are and what's driving you and maybe some habits that aren't serving you anymore, and you start stepping into more accountability and discipline and leadership, as you're like moving down this path, right? There comes a time where it gets hard. It gets hard. Looking at yourself on that level is not a comfortable thing to do, but it's one of the most rewarding things a person can do. And so can you speak to how you push through that uncomfortableness to get to the finish line? Well, not the finish line, obviously it's a lifelong journey, but to get moving on this journey and to the light. Forward. Yeah.
I mean, I think really one of the biggest lessons has been leaning on community. I used to try and do everything myself. And now every time it starts to get hard, I think, who can I call? Who can I ask to support me? And sometimes it's Tovy, and sometimes it's my mom, and sometimes it's people that I've met through the different classes. But that has been my go-to when things get hard. I'm probably back in my own habit of trying to do it all on my own.
That level of awareness, I love it. And not awareness combined with an action plan.
Yeah.
This is how I normally would show up in the past. So now I'm going to choose to do this instead when this thing happens.
Right.
Perfect. I love it. So we're coming to the top of our time together. And, unfortunately, it always goes so much faster than I ever want it to. But, thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and really behind the scenes, what was going on for you and the things that you actually went up against. If there was someone watching this right now who sees potential in going and taking themselves on and starting to become more aware of themselves, and maybe they have some big goals in life that they've been putting off or trying to achieve, but just been falling short and trying to figure out why that is, what would you say to them in regards to getting their butts in that seat like you did?
Well, I think they're going to get all those benefits that you just talked about. But also, I think I struggled in the past with, because I didn't like myself that much, I didn't think I was worth the investment. And so I think, first of all, you are worth the investment. I can tell you that right now. And if you go, you'll realize that. But also, what I put into myself, time and money and energy wise, has paid off for my mom, has paid off for my husband, has paid off for my kids. My kids are doing better because I went to this. My neighborhood, my clients, everybody is benefiting. So it's a very unselfish thing to do. It's the best way to serve the world is to go and work on yourself. And then you can spread, that benefit out to everybody around you.
I love it. Yeah. I believe it was Gandhi, right? It said that change all starts with you, right? If you want to see the world change, start with you.
Yeah.
So I think it's like I probably definitely
Right.
butchered that, but there you go.
That's okay. No, we all sit and we wish the world was different.
Yeah.
Right. But until we the more work I do, I'm excited for what's next for me in terms of personal development. The more I do, the more I can influence the direction that the world's going in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Building a entire movement of world changers, one seminar at a time. That's pretty cool. Or as Todd calls it, one mind at a time.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you would want to share? Anything you're being called to provide for the audience? Any bit of wisdom, any golden nugget that you still have left that you'd love to share before we end our time together?
Honestly, I feel very satisfied with everything. Nothing's coming up for me. I just very much appreciate the opportunity. Again, the way that you listen and are able to allow me to share my story, and to think of things that I hadn't really thought about before. So thank you for the opportunity. And I guess Chris and I are both here if people, have questions or, not sure that it's really for them or how to make it happen. We're happy to help.
Absolutely. And if you don't have any questions and you're ready to pull the trigger and get started, there will be a link directly above this video. You can go ahead and grab the gift of insight today. It's 50% off for the rest of the year for the holiday season. And there's only 500 tickets available, but there's no cap on how many you could buy. So if you wanted one for yourself, your spouse, your kid, your grandma, whatever it was, and you felt that there was potential there for them to step into theirs, then that's all available to you.
It's awesome.
Well, Mel, thank you so much for your time here today, diving into your story. I truly just an honor to get to chat with you some more. And anytime we get together, it's always a lot of fun and really, really inspiring for me. I've lived a pretty crazy life, but I've never once sat down and listened to another alumni story that did not inspire me as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
So I just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. You have a good one.
You too. Take care. Bye.